So yeah, there was a question earlier about the so the Blender stuff for the Godot RPG. So we have in production at the moment the procedural weapons in Blender. Now that will start shipping for early access people towards the end of this month. So in the next 7 days. Yeah, that's right. It's 28 days this month.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that I've decided to do, because we've had some wonderful feedback, someone might be watching who made that feedback, is when we add to a course sequentially, so just uploading lectures 1 or 2 as we're recording them, Teachable at the moment has no way of informing you that's actually happening. Your percentage of course complete doesn't change, even though it should. So that seems to be baked in. It can never go backwards, which is a shame. And obviously, you don't want to reset your progress on a course just to see what your latest progress is. I've sent off a support ticket to Teachable to see whether that's something they can actually rectify. But up until that, so off from that, we are, or certainly I am going to release sections at a time, so you know that material is all there. So for instance, mid this week, I think the last final edits are coming together for the music course, so that whole section will become available in the next couple of days.
And have you been unwrapping your weapons stuff?
No, not yet. I will need to.
To.
That will be incorporated into all of these new things. And this really does circle back to when we often talk about having a spec sheet, a game design document, an asset design document from the beginning of when you start any project, because then you know exactly what's going on. Are your models going to be textured? Well, the answer to that for us was no, which also meant in the past that UV unwrapping wasn't necessary. Now it is, because we've changed which game engine we're using.
Incidentally, the sword maker is in that version of Godot.
Oh,
you just can't access it from the menu, but if you want to show it off on high def, you can.
Yeah, that would be
because
awesome.
That's a good way of showing the new procedural generation, and 2, the new lighting material system. So if you look up, if you on the file system type in random sword, one word, there it is.
The
and
scene?
Just run that scene. Yep. So open it, and then nope. Yep.
So what we have in front of us here, we showed it off a couple of weeks ago when we had it working in, it must have been about a month ago actually, when we were having it working in Godot 3. So now, unfortunately, this text here is quite small.
Yes, I haven't brought the font in.
So when we press space, it generates a brand new weapon, assigns materials with value.
Right, so the materials have a damage and a monetary value, and the damage value is more important if it's the very edge of the blade, and the monetary value is more important if it's the center of the blade. So we have a very basic algorithm, and we're generating or picking the blade, the hilt, and the pommel. Hilt, in this specific context, is the grip, the hilt, and the crossguard, or the bit you hold in your hand, and the pommel is the counterweight at the back.
Yes. So this is those pieces that we use in Blender in order to create random weapons. This is those pieces into Godot and the random weapons made in Godot. Now, there's pros and cons to doing the random generation in either of the packages. Because we want weapons to be able to be generated at runtime, so you get to experience different weapons every time you play, it's better to assemble them in Godot, meaning that you only have, let's say you have 5 handles, 5 guards, and 5 blades. Jan's only going to have to randomly generate from 15 different assets. If I go and generate lots and lots of different weapons, then you have far more mesh data to bring across. So in that case, you're really, I suppose you're balancing bandwidth with storage.
Jovelin asked a good question. I'll answer that in a moment. But Governor, how did you decide to start with the weapons? I know why I said I wanted to start with weapons, but Mikey, why did you decide that weapons is a good place to start?
Because it was low down on the list of things we're going to be covering.
Yeah, it's an easy place to start.
Yeah.
I was just starting with the idea of how to generate procedural weapons from our side, from
Yeah.
the programming side, and I needed some assets, and they were a good place for Mikey to start, so that they sort of converged from there.
Yeah, that's very true. You needed some assets,
I
so
was just designing a system. It's like, okay, will this system work?
and yeah, it was also low down on the list of things that we were going to cover. So, getting that out of the way, it's not going to be a very long course because we're simply modeling and codifying using geometry nodes, the actual random generation, and also automating the export of those assets. The thing that I really going to push in a lot of the various courses is when we're creating multiple of something, we need a way that if we tweak several meshes at once, we don't have to laboriously go through and file and export. So there'll be a lot of emphasis not only on the procedural generation, which can save time. It's not always a time saver. Obviously, making
Yeah,
15
time
weapons.
is a bad reason to do procedural
Yes,
generation. All right,
variation is
so
a good reason.